if you're in the conspiracy movement, you're somebody like me who's got a career, been doing all this work, a lot of it can seem to be critical, negative or whatever. It's really not, but it comes across that way. So people are saying, you keep on deconstructing things, you keep on complaining about the way things are, but what are the solutions? So it's very important to be accurate, because there's going to be a lot of knee-jerk reaction just to anyone critiquing so deeply the system. So therefore, a person like me has to have their facts together. They've got to have read, they have to know what they're talking about, and they have to offer coherent solutions. So when I say that, the fist that crushes the tyrant's head becomes a tyrant in its stead, these are deeply profound anecdotes, deeply profound sayings. When I say that, it's complicity on our side, it's not just gun to the head. When I say these things, you're going to the deepest of the sages, their work. Your Tolstoys. Government is an organization that does violence to the rest of us. Tyranny is more organized than freedom, etc. We are drawing upon a long line of thinkers from all walks of life: newspapermen, journalists, savants, poets, all the way up to the top level philosophy. Not to mention the psychologists, and even sometimes I pull from people who are on the right wing, some people I pull from the left wing. That's really immaterial, because at some point people have complaints about the way things are. But it's no good approaching people in today's world with those complaints unless you have coherent solutions. Otherwise, you're just a malcontent, and that only a lot of bands, musical bands, have that. A lot of people just waving placards. Malcontent you can find on any street corner. But somebody who can say, here's the solution. Don't leave consciousness at the door. Observe the way, like you just said, in which I've enslaved myself. What is it in my psyche that needs the authority figure? This is automatically taking us into the realm of deep psychology, deep philosophy. If somebody follows you down that path, they may say, oh yeah, some of this sounds familiar. We've had some religious people, we've had some theologians who worry about the fate of man. He's becoming too collectivized, or he's becoming too superficial. We've got people even in the evangelist movement who are worried about marketing. And I agree with them. I'm not an evangelist, and I don't like most of what evangelists are up to, but you'll find plenty of areas where there's a crossover, where those people are deadly afraid of the effects of marketing, of advertising, of the pornographization, or whatever you want to call it, the lewdness and the general immorality of society. And they're correct. So, but could I sit down at the table with one of those guys? I would, but they won't. So when you're in the conspiracy movement, you're the sort of friend of no one, enemy of everyone. And it's going to take time then for the enslaved the enslaved to even realize what your benefit is. Because I've noticed that people in general who, as long as they see you looking familiar, looking like them, coming from the same world with them as them, waving your PhD around, looking like you're suit and tie, straight up and down guy, or even in any way that you look like them, like the audience, they will listen more uncritically to what you're saying. If you're somebody like me who doesn't come from any other background, I'm not coming from art or computers or teaching or business or high finance, or computers or whatever. I'm coming from the esoteric tradition. I don't look like my audience for the most part. And if you also happen to be someone who is different in other ways, and your message is a bit obscure, people's arms are folded and they're much more critical. You can see the furrows on their brow. He's deceiving me. Is he trying to say evil is good? And every defense mechanism is up. Now, I'm not against that, because I can hold my own. I'm bulletproof, and I can talk you down. I have nothing to fear, nothing to hide. But there is this enslavement that says, if he looks like Joe Schmo, if he looks like the guy next door, I'll believe it. And the defenses are down. If it's somebody that from outside that world, they have to win their stripes. They have to walk over broken glass, and then the latter day sort of Johnny, the sort of bandwagon hoppers, are able to come in through the jungle that you've helped carve a way through. It's a green light all the way from them. So in a way, there's good and bad to that. By having to go that extra distance to convince people, I've become, in my career, bulletproof. I've become a lot more erudite. I've become more factual than I was, say, 10 years ago or whatever. I've developed, and I've had my facts down, so that now when I know the few who do come, and they come with admiration, and they come with true, genuine need and open receptivity, then the package that I'm handing, I think, is second to none, because of that tempering, and that going through the furnace, where other people are still, a jumble of sort of miscellaneous stuff. They've surfed the internet, or they've, read a few sound bites, and then they present themselves as some sort of expert. That's okay. We need it for all levels, but with my work, with what you and I are doing, there's a whole different level. Some people could call it raising the bar, but it's been just a slow maturation of a good wine over a longer period of time, and that has its own benefits because it's more thought out, it's more deep. And so, yeah, there's enslavement, but that's on many levels. It depends what people want. And at some point, they're going to have to come to this alignment where they're saying, I understand completely what Michael is saying. It's not just about the gun to the head, Orwellian, draconian thing, the boot on the face of humanity. It's about myself. So now this thing becomes, to cut a long story short, as I've said before, it's holy work. The very moment that somebody realizes, oh my goodness, this is about me, there's going to be a different kind of perspiration on the brow. There's going to be a different kind of homework involved. There's going to be a different kind of intensity in that enslavement. It's not just, giving you a bunch of facts so that you know that tyranny exists, or that some crime families have been, going back to the time of Egypt. That's all very important. Or who really controls the world, etc., etc. Those are all vital things to know. But always, the root of my tree, the foundations of my building in this go much deeper. They go back into the psyche. They talk about psychic sovereignty. They talk about psychic immunity. They talk about how the master manipulates your own psychological weaknesses. And the moment that somebody really truly grasps that, then they're on the road to being completely unslaved. But it's going to be a journey that not every one of their fellows will want to take. Haven't you heard people forever regale people like us about, where's the solutions? Right. It's like, where's the solutions? Like, you want to play a one-armed bandit and just get an immediate laundry list of here's to-dos. There are solutions. I deal with solutions. But the person who's asking that question forgets that I can give you a tool, like a physical tool, right? And tell you, go fix that computer, go fix those speakers, go tinker around with, and if you've never seen that thing before, or you have no idea how to use a screwdriver or a ratchet or some other even more complex, like go and do surgery, here's a knife. You're not going to be able to do it. So the person who screams for solutions, that's always gone through one ear out the other. Although I deal in solutions, I'm not a fool. You don't just walk into the military academy as a private and then become a general right away. I'm asking that person who's screaming that way, oh, who are you? Are you clean enough to even apply the solution? Could you carry it out? In order to become a good soccer player, a good ball player, a good baseball player, a good golfer, haven't you had to go through a probationary period? Tell me one thing of meaning in a person's life, from their schooling to other extracurricular, riding a bike even, let alone, as you're saying, the martial arts. Everyone will acknowledge that they came in as an acolyte. They came in as a neophyte, and they had to win their stripes. But on the internet and in this community, you get people there with folded arms talking about, give me the solution. And I could give you the solution, but I don't know that you are efficient enough or accredited enough to go into the enemy camp and do damn all with it. And in fact, as I look around the world and I see all these Occupy movements and We Are Changes and many others I could mention, and even individuals within this movement, naming no names, swindlers and all sorts of con artists, how do I know that the person who's screaming for answers is even capable of applying even one of those solutions? So, and it becomes all the more important when you're dealing with the physical. Like, for instance, say we are talking about shadow work. We've really nailed something key about our solutions, about, getting fit, losing weight, toughening up, being alert, how your daily pattern is, not in a militaristic or regimented way, but in a good holistic way. Yeah, but so then some guy who hasn't done one iota of any of that work, hasn't even concerned himself, he's guzzling big gulps, and his diet's full of sugar and God knows what else. You're going to tell me now that that person is, like we said, on the way to wholesomeness and to be enslaved? No, they're not. But that person may have been screaming 24/7, these guys have got no solutions. The solutions, the solutions have been there for hundreds of years. Go read Gustave Le Bon, go read Ayn Rand. I can give you a list of 10 people that you could master in 2 years. Even the reading list wouldn't even take you more than a year or 2 years if you really were serious. I've said this before, I think we've talked about this in other shows, that even a Michael Tsarion reading list, and this even includes your Nathaniel Brandons and a few others that people might not have heard of. But if you really were serious about it, you could get within 18 months, you'd pretty much know, what you're doing. And a good intelligent person, starting from scratch, I think they'd make such incredible progress that after 2 years they'd be teaching you the stuff you gave them. So then what on earth is the problem? The solutions have already been out there. A person like me is only a filtration system, right? Knowing that people don't have the 30 years of research. So I try to say, okay, I've done a lot of research and I filter down to the best of the best, in different subject categories. And it's like teaching somebody an instrument, say a guitar. You have to look at their hands. You've got to say, what kind of music do you even like? You can't just walk into a guitar shop and buy one. I've got to know a lot about you first. Because there's all different sizes and different gauges of strings and all sorts of different, you might buy a guitar completely wrong for the kind of music that you're heading down to play. If you play classical or jazz, it's gonna matter. The size of your hands, the stature of your body, the way you like to sit. It's all gonna matter. And it's exactly the same with these solutions. So I'm not there to dispense solutions. I'm there to bring the person in. But I can't walk that journey for them. I can only say, here's the categories. If you're into Atlantis or ancient this, or say you're into astrotheology, or you like numbers and geometry and sacred geometry and gematria and that, or no, you want to talk more about the tarot and divination. I try to create a whole smorgasbord of categories that people can come in and say, these are the best of the great thinkers in this movement. But if somebody picks up, oh wait a minute, my God, Aleister Crowley, Manly Palmer Hall, they're evil. I'm off of here. Oh my God, the whole thing stinks. Hey, do I run after them and go, what are you doing? No, I let them go. Go back to the world, mate. Go back to ignorance. With my blessing. Go ahead. The beast will just eat you alive. If you're truly with a hunger, then you realize these people have provided solutions for you, but I need to come there. I need to get my arms around all the information. I need to study what interests me and leave the rest. I shouldn't even, people come to me all the time, especially by email, and say, Michael, where should I start? What should I do? What do you think of this guy? What do you think of that guy? And I'll say, I can tell you a few places to start, but I'm sorry, I can't answer these next questions where you're asking me about the work of other people, because I don't comment on it. Because if you knew anything about my work, and of course newbies, they don't, so I then have to always explain it. But sometimes I get a little touchy when it's somebody who I know has been around a while, and they're asking me those kinds of questions. Haven't you got the gist of what my work is? My gist is not to be holding your hand. You go study whatever interests you. But I'm not going to I'm not going to say what I think of Gurdjieff or what I think of this guy or that guy, not in depth anyway. You are the one to go look at that stuff, research it. If it sings to you, then by all means. If you like the Course in Miracles, or you like the Bible, or you like like you're saying Chinese, Oriental philosophy more than something from the West, that's all your own sort of selection. I'm not there to dominate and to advise that it's a one-size-fits-all system. But what I am there to do is to help people, especially newbies to this, coming in for the first time. But I can't, to create those categories. But I can't stop their knee-jerk reactions. I can't cleanse them of all the baggage that they're bringing in from the world, all these preconceptions. And I cannot stop their knee-jerk reaction against me personally, which, these are the things that stand in the way. To me, those are all forms of enslavement. And I can speak with authority on this, you see, because if I think of myself in the days of ignorance, my God, were they deep? Were they deep? Or if I think back, okay, what age? Even up to 24, 30, 33, I didn't know nothing. And when I look back to that time, when I look back and I can see my own ignorance, the difference with me and the people that I see today is that when I came upon a teacher, no matter who they were, now granted later on I may have parted with that teacher, or I may have said, I see the inadequacies of that person. But see, at the time when I first came upon a teacher, be it in book form, or be it in some other art form, or some even live person, have you any idea of the hunger that I had? Have you any idea of the respect that I had and what I was willing to do to have that person impart their wisdom to me? There was admiration, there was reverence, there was completely different kind of energy than I see today, with arms folded and this contempt and this cantankerousness and this doubt. I didn't have that as a beginner. I had absolute hunger to learn and the feeling that I knew nothing. Like Socrates said, I know that I know nothing. And that as my knowledge increases, I know less and less. I was so possessed with that feeling that I was devouring books. I was seeking out anything and everything so that I could find the right way. Because I knew that if I can't know the truth, at least there's people out there who have, found the truth. Let me start at A. I didn't want to jump guns. I didn't want to turn over 2 pages at once. Now I had reservations. I wasn't willing to humble myself to an extreme extent, and fall at the feet of some guru. I wouldn't go to that length. Oh, that's not what I'm talking about. But I had this very positive hunger that after setting out on the journey, I met people. I met the world of knowledge with an incredible hunger and incredible reverence. And that's part of being unslaved, because the way you walk the road, right, the way you walk the road to truth turns out to be as important as the road itself or the goal. The way you walk, the energy you brought with you through the darkness, the relationship that you had with your own darkness and your own ignorance, all of that is borne in mind. You can't just jump over and then, become the PhD, become the sort of enlightened one. It won't, that's what I say, bringing in the baggage of the way the world works. The world works that way, where you jump through these hoops, mate, and we'll give you a scroll. We'll give you the key to the door. In spiritual teachings, it's completely different. You may have to even go back over the old road many times. You may have to, like the snakes and ladders game, come back down to square one many, many times, by the way. This is not necessarily in the world. When they give you a prize, they give it to you. But in spiritual teachings, the whole thing is a labyrinth that can fold back on itself. There's no rules. The way you walk the road determines the rules and the vistas and the goals. It's a very different set of laws and rules. So this is why I say, even though we provide the solutions, that doesn't let the person off the hook automatically, that they can come in with all of their worldly baggage, with all their nonsensical self-image, with all of their projections and counter-projections on you, and then at the same time expect, to then immediately transform the world. No, it doesn't work like that.